rock your world!
Jason is my son, and today is his birthday. You could have dinner with us. My brother makes good head cheese. Candyman, I get cheese. Candyman. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hello and welcome to Two Guys, One Necronomicon, a weekly horror review podcast where we talk about all things horror. We talk about your cult classics to your modern day trash, and it's the beginning of spooky season.
Ooh-wee.
So we are opening up with the houses that October built.
A real banger.
Well, I feel the best way to open up spooky season is to discuss haunted houses.
Especially because they kind of linger on throughout this season. That's why they call it the spooky season, is because they probably start up, like, honestly, end of September.
Oh, of course. The whole festival that happens in Salem, Massachusetts starts like 2 weeks before September's over and goes all the way through October.
Yeah, so it is an exciting time, especially if you're into horror, and that stuff really just always intrigues me. We are your final bros, Bryan Hopwood-LaGrassa, and Shane, I'm leaking, Smith.
Ew.
What?
And today, we have Jen, the producer, on. Jen, happy to have you back.
Glad to be back. Hate that I'm doing this movie.
If that's any indication about how she feels about this movie.
Yeah, but you're opening up Halloween with us, and that's the important part. It's not about the movie. It's about opening up Halloween. What this podcast is all about.
That's true. And we're here. First episode in October. Kicking it off, right?
This is our season and we are excited.
I just wish October was longer.
I know.
Right?
Me too.
Do you guys feel weird that there might not be any haunted houses this year?
It's terrifying because no one's going to want to get candy.
Yeah.
Unless you want that COVID candy.
I think people want to. I just don't think we're going to be allowed.
You know, when I was younger, there was something not similar, but there was an issue with anthrax. Do you remember growing up during that time?
Well, yeah, wasn't that like where like anthrax was in the mail and stuff like that?
Yes. So I was like literally had this fear, this Final Destination fear, that I was going to be served candy with anthrax.
There's like a couple cases, and it's not like as common as people think, where candy was drugged or candy had like needles in it.
Razor blades in the apples?
Yes.
Oh my good lord.
Which is a movie we'll be talking about potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you think you're getting a nice treat and then...
Razor blade, right to the throat.
Yep. That's always exciting.
I think there was only one specific case where there was like a steroid, or I forget what the specific drug was, and I don't really want to look it up, that the dad was trying to like kill his kids for like life insurance or something, but he had handed out the candy to other kids, and like the one kid like didn't eat it and one kid did, and it was like really bad.
That's so sick.
It's so terrible.
Oh my
I
God.
guess
This is why most places are moving away from like the traditional trick-or-treat and doing like that trunk-or-treat now.
Yeah.
Where they just have like a bunch of car trunks open at the school and like have the kids go around that way.
I guess we'll just have to learn about it more from Candyman, even though I'm pretty sure that movie has nothing to do with this topic.
No,
I don't even think it has anything to do with candy. Bees.
Bees, yeah, it's bees. Candyman's interesting. I guess it's because, like, the whole idea of, like, they summon him to scare people, right?
I haven't
What is he
seen
bringing? He's not bringing candy.
I haven't seen the movie in a very long time, so I really don't remember the premise of it.
It's like a Bloody Mary summon, like
Yeah.
you say
Well, yeah,
3 times.
Yeah, that is true.
But we're not talking about Candyman here.
No.
Talking about haunted houses. And if you haven't known, Shane is going to be going through Macamee Manor very shortly.
No.
Promotional pod coming out.
No. That's actually not happening. I know you said at the end of last episode, but I'm never going through that. No one should ever go through that.
And he's going to be going with Ellen's producer.
Exactly. We're booking it now. We're in talks with her publicist.
I tweeted at Ellen.
Let's make this happen. Who wants to see this?
I mean, I'm sure people want to see it, but
I'm sure
I'm not
you wanna
doing.
see it.
No, I don't.
We'll
I'm
just-
not going to a torture chamber for 4 to 10 hours.
What's worse, the house or the Ellen?
Well, true.
The Ellen, it's the Andy.
The Andy. The Ellen and the Andy.
We'll just sit by watching with like caramel apples and like our candy.
I don't think anyone can watch. I think he just like
That's true.
kidnaps you and like brings you to his dungeon.
He actually does film it to prove that like he doesn't torture anyone. Like there was a police investigation on it. So he has to actively film the participants to prove that he hasn't done anything to
Yeah,
them.
I mean, I've seen the videos on YouTube and it doesn't seem fun.
No, it doesn't. I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't looked into it that much, but I do know that there are extensive rules you have to follow to get through it.
There's like a 40-page waiver.
And one of them is no cursing, which I feel no one's going to be able to do. Because if you're getting scared like shitless, you're going to give some expletives because you're just going to be shocked and surprised.
Well, that's the way of making it so you can never win the $20,000, is it?
Yeah, I just think it's kind of ridiculous. But
it is.
I mean, there's other rules too, but I know that's a big one where I was just like, wow, I wouldn't do this.
And that's the most extreme of haunted houses that no one should probably ever do.
That's one of the most extreme ones you know about.
All right.
Because this movie is all about extreme haunted houses that are more on the hush.
Yes, you need a password. Word of mouth.
And you need to find them.
Yes.
You need to find them.
Or they need to find you.
Or they might have been seeking you out the whole entire time.
Yes. You don't know. And what I like about this movie, going into the movie real quick, is that, like, the different performers in the other haunted attractions, you don't know if they're from where the characters end up at the end of the movie or if they're part of the attraction there. It's very interesting how they lead that on.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about haunted houses.
Okay.
You like haunted houses, right?
Yeah, I mentioned it before. I love haunted houses.
Exactly. We went to one just this past Halloween when you were allowed to go to haunted houses. Terror Behind the Walls.
Is that the name of it? It was in Philadelphia.
Yes, it was the penitentiary one in Philadelphia.
Oh.
You didn't like that?
Well, I actually haven't gone to that one. I prefer to just go and see the actual penitentiary if I'm going to a place like that.
Nice.
But a friend of the podcast, Young Dan Key from Green Knuckle Material, did go, and just like one staff member he had a bad interaction with that like yelled at him for something really stupid, and then like they were trying to scare him the whole time, and he was like, no, you guys just like low-key yelled at me for something. I'm not having a good time and you're not scaring me. And he was like, I'm not going back there.
Yeah. When we went to the penitentiary, I mean, it was good. Costumes were really good.
Oh, really?
I wasn't like overall terrified. We did put Mike G through the ringer with a clown.
Yes.
Like purposely made him go with a clown.
Yeah.
Because you have the option to put the LED light. Or
Yes, which if you put on this red light, the actors are...
It is a glow stick.
Yeah.
I'm an asshole.
The actors are allowed to touch you if you put on that light. And it makes the experience more interesting.
So-
I think it would be pretty boring if you don't put that on.
And we basically forced Mike G to wear it.
Yes, we did.
They're like, we don't have the budget for LED lights. We're not sure what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I honestly enjoyed it. The scariest part, obviously, we both can agree, is when you lost your keys in the haunted house.
I lost my keys in the penitentiary.
And
Literally
we didn't know how we were getting home from Philadelphia.
terrified, thinking I would have to, like, imagine the fear going in through our heads in Philly, 2 hours from where we live, can't get into my car, and I'm like, wow, I'm gonna have to go through this whole thing again and find the keys. It's in pitch black, so I'm never really gonna find it, so it's kind of over. And then I go to the desk and I just ask, and she's like, wait 1 second, pulls out the keys, and she's like, these were found in sector 220.
Yeah, she gave us a sector, like we would know.
Person who found it, Katie. And I'm like, I would get down on one knee if I found Katie right at this moment.
Katie, if you're listening to this podcast right now,
Sweet Katie.
Bryan thanks you.
Bryan has a question for you.
I do. Thank you, Katie.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, I've never, ironically, I live so much closer to that one than you guys do, but I've never been there. I just don't like people touching me in general, just strangers in general. Even at work, I don't like people just coming over and being too close to me, especially now. And thank God everyone has to be 6 feet away from me. If I don't want a general person, acquaintance I know to touch me, I'm not letting one of these guys touch me.
I know. And it's always the thing with these kinds of haunted houses, like, you don't know how far they're gonna take it. That's the kind of idea behind this, because the characters are looking for extreme haunted houses, not the one that just kind of send kids crying.
They're looking for someone to take it further than anyone's ever experienced before, pretty much. They're looking for the top of the line haunt.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, before we're even introduced to the characters, we have like a shot in the beginning of the movie of just like a bunch of interviews that seemingly, I guess, the cast did prior to starting the movie. They just did a bunch of interviews with people who work at and run haunted houses.
Mm-hmm.
And weirdly enough, I had to Google if these were real interviews and not like actors, because there was a point that they were saying, oh, well, I mean, at least we're not using like real murderers. And I like legit thought, oh, thank God. Imagine using real murderers. Because they even like showed news clippings of like serial predators that were working, that got arrested. I was like, as if I didn't need more of an excuse to not walk through haunted houses.
I know. You know what's probably crazy too? People like actively seek these out and probably love just getting rocked.
Yeah. Well, no.
Like, it's sick.
That's why they want the extreme ones. They want the physical body experience. They want to be buried alive or waterboarded or something crazy.
Maybe we were having a conversation with one of our friends fiancés, where she said like she wants to be tied up, she wants all these experiences. And he's like, you're afraid of a spider.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Super funny. But one thing about this movie that we definitely have to point out is that it's found footage, which I think was the right way to go.
Without a doubt. Couldn't do this movie where it's like the camera's not supposed to be there. Like, it's better with them actually filming themselves going through everything.
Because you get personalities of the characters,
exactly.
And it gives like a raw touch. Especially because the whole idea is like, they're looking for haunted houses, but they're being kind of terrorized.
There was a couple scenes in the very beginning, though, that when like the guy's preparing the trailer or when they're in the bar, that like just the very beginning when we're getting introduced, and I'm just like, we see where he's setting up cameras, but then there's a camera showing him setting up a camera where he didn't set up a camera, and I'm like, I'm confused. Is someone just already watching you like they already started this?
Bobby's got all the cameras.
Maybe someone was watching them from the beginning.
Maybe.
It is possible.
Especially because if the one character was kind of like looking through these forums for haunted houses, so it could have been just like played from the beginning. Who knows? Let's get into it.
Yeah. So, it's October, the perfect time to jump all the way into the spooky pit.
This movie has friends looking for extreme haunted houses, but they are tested as these haunts hit closer to home. This movie was released in 2014, directed by Bobby Rowe, and one interesting thing about this movie is that all the actors use their first names.
Yeah.
So, Brandy Schaefer is Brandy in the movie.
Bobby Rowe is Bobby.
Zach Andrews is Zach. Mikey Rowe is Mikey. And Jeff Larson, sweet, sweet Jeff, who just knows how to drive and rap, is named Jeff.
I actually don't think he knows how to rap.
You're right, that's a lie. He's horrible.
Okay, that was the worst scene in the movie.
It's the worst scene I've ever seen, like, ever.
Do you think they were going for like a weird Blair Witch type of thing? Because when Blair Witch was made, they purposefully like stopped contact with like their families and like almost made it as if it was like a real thing, like these people were missing. Do you think they were trying to do that with using like their real names, trying to be like, oh, we went through this?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
It makes sense.
It adds kind of like a less Hollywood take and a more raw angle to the film. I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah, it makes it feel real, because that's their real name.
Blair Witch, I always say, Blair Witch executed found footage to almost perfection. I think it was such a good movie. Obviously made a remake where they basically just took the same formula, but instead of having a map, they used drones.
I mean, it was okay. It was definitely better than Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows. Which I don't think the Blair Witch is in that movie.
I don't think anything's in that movie. The movie sucks.
There's definitely not a Book of Shadows in it.
If anything, their PR was just great because the way they executed it, that's probably why it got so much publicity, because they thought like these people were actually missing, which I guess they were trying to do in this.
It's an added intrigue.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that.
So this movie opens up with a quote, and I don't remember what the quote was.
You know I got the quote, so
Yeah.
I'll just read it.
I hated it enough, I didn't bother.
I love Jen's hatred of this. It's gonna be a great fucking review. I'm not afraid of werewolves or vampires or haunted houses. I'm afraid of what real human beings do to other real human beings. And the quote was by Walter John Williams, and I think that's very interesting because obviously you have like these supernatural fictional creatures like a lichen or vampire or bat or whatever, but we're more interested in like the evil nature behind humans. There's the mystique of like, when you're going to these more extreme haunted houses, what's really the motivation behind some of these people that are trying to scare you? Like, are they getting off? Is it a day job for them? Or a night job, I should say?
They kind of like live for this. It's like they work year round to have this month where they can just torment people. It's like they keep it inside of them for 11 months of the year, and this is the month they can let it out on other people legally within like not beating them.
It's kind of like a pothead where they have to like kind of like withhold and take on their inner struggle where they have to go through an 8-hour workday to eventually just go home and just blaze themselves out for.
So like Josh Gordon in the NFL.
I hate you.
With the banger analogies, the hot boy here.
I mean, considering like every single interview that you see throughout the movie, essentially that's why I had to Google it, because it's a found footage movie. I wasn't sure if those people were acting or if they were actually like real staff, and they were all real staff. All the interviews that you see with people working haunted houses in the movies, like the cast really went around and interviewed all these people. And the very last interview, because these interviews are just like scattered throughout the whole movie, the very last person actually got knocked out 3 separate times by different patrons, and the cast said that he wore that as like a badge of honor. Like he was thrilled that he scared people that much.
He's made it.
Yeah.
He's made it.
It's the high point of his life.
Getting knocked out by 3 separate
But like,
people.
if the haunted house is so extreme where like this guy's basically tying you up, like you're gonna want to get physical with the guy. I can't see why you wouldn't.
Well, that's why they make specific rules.
There are some kind of paperwork you have to fill out before you go into something
Like that. Like, there's the one in New York and LA, Blackout, where you have to go in by yourself. You have a flashlight. That's your only light.
Fuck this shit.
You have a safety word. The only way it stops, the experience stops, is if you use the safety word. And if you use the safety word, it's over. You can't continue at all. You sign up, people can touch you. People can force you to do things. All different things.
Force you to do things?
That's the whole point. They, like, force you to do actions. Like, you have to do...
Can you do one of these?
No.
Oh my god.
This one was interesting, because when I was reading on the website, it says, like, violent and sexual acts and stuff like...
Ooh, sexual?
It specifically does say that. Apparently a very interesting experience, because there's, like, reviews on this one in New York from, like, all those, like, the top LA Times, New York, all that stuff. It looked interesting. Apparently it's, like, very well known. I wouldn't do it, but...
You would.
I mean, there are people who really like to be tortured doing all that, so I guess this would be considered a safe way for them to just do any of this. I find it weird.
No, yeah, I mean, it's a rush.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I mean, something like that, like, Blackout's a legit place, so they have guidelines. It's not like, you're not gonna get, like, attacked for real, but it's
like
all within...
sanctioned?
Yes, exactly. That's the way to put it.
Would they be considered masochists?
Certain people that go through it definitely are. If your, like, whole thing is you want to go there to get buried alive
100%.
or tied up or...
Yeah. Like you when you go to Europe. So, what's interesting is there's going to be a lot of text in the beginning, and this movie also, like Jen said, has several interviews laden throughout, and we'll kind of get more into it. But one of the things that's interesting is they mentioned that 30 million people per year visit haunted houses, and nearly 2,500 attractions are open on Halloween. Which may not seem like a lot, but a lot of these are pretty high profile, except some of those that, like I said, they probably don't even account for.
Well, yeah, in this movie where they're going from, like, place to place, some of them just look like they're, like, some guy's shed in, like, a field or something like that. They don't look like anything legit. One thing they do mention at the beginning of the interviews is there's been accidents at these places, like the one woman who accidentally hung herself and they thought she was a prop for, like, the night. Which I thought was very interesting and also very creepy. Because it makes you realize, like, when you're going through these things, like, did someone accidentally die and you're looking at a real dead body?
That one specific quote reminds me of The Wizard of Oz, because you remember that one thing in The Wizard of Oz where they said, like, someone hung themselves right after they meet the Tin Man, and you can actually see the person in the background.
Like, swaying back and forth.
You can see the body.
Yeah, so the film's going to open up with a couple of interviews. I know one specifically, you see, like, these skeleton-looking employees are like, oh, we get about 1,000 scare-outs a year. Like, the frick is a scare-out? And a scare-out is, I guess, someone that kind of goes right in and they're like, nope, I'm done. Just like takes a step in and a step out. That's a scare out because they're too scared. And there's another interview they have with these two guys. They've heard, some of these haunted houses, the extreme ones, they even hire murderers. Another person mentions that he even has human remains in his haunted house. Which
is a thing that comes up later on in the movie, because they're like, I want to go to a place that uses real human body parts as, like, the scare. And then they talk about how, like, how would you even know if it's a real human body part or not?
Do you want to know a really fun fact about Disney? In the Haunted Mansion, which I think is in California, I think it's on the original Disney property, I don't even remember, I couldn't tell you the year when Walt, like, started it. They wanted real human skeletons. And so for the first, like, several or so years, they were actually using actual skeletons, like human remains.
That's wild.
At this point, like, because of laws and different decaying things about them, they've all been sent back to their, like, respective countries, but it was actually really cheap to find original human skeletons to put in attractions back in the day.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
I'm thinking we have to get a human skeleton now to hang up, like, on the door.
Do you want to go to jail for, like, ever?
That's going to smell horrible.
That's true. I just thought it would, like, really tie the room together.
Are you talking about Robin Graves, dude?
No, I'm saying, like, we just purchase one off the internet.
You can buy anything off the internet.
It's
you trying to hit that dark web?
Honestly, if you go deep enough on Amazon, you might find one.
I imagine that they didn't have, like, really good props and stuff to make realistic human skeletons back in the day, so apparently this was super cheap to do.
Really?
So I wouldn't be surprised if an original haunted house, like one of the first ones, actually had real human skeletons, and, like, they don't anymore, obviously, but I wouldn't be shocked if we found one.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just call up Jeff Bezos. Apparently he's got a bunch of them.
Probably does.
We'll create Pet Cemetery.
Yes.
So in this movie now, getting back to that, after you see all these interviews and stuff, you cut to these people putting a woman into a trunk. And you don't know who she is.
Unconscious.
You don't know who these people are. And she's just unconscious in the trunk. And you just pan in on her. And then she finally wakes up.
And I think they mentioned that, the following footage was shot by 5 friends during an extreme haunt road trip back in 2013. And then they said that, the rest was allegedly filmed by employees with the blue skeleton, which you'll hear later, an underground haunt with no fixed location. Yes.
And now we cut to 6 days earlier at Cowboy Palace in Texas.
Where apparently I guess the Deep South is where you can get away with almost anything. I guess that's the idea here.
Well, Bryan, it's the South. There's no laws.
I thought that was the PA joke.
Well, PA is a lawless land. PA is basically the southern state of the North.
Yeah, kind of. I guess it's the most southern-like state of the North.
Yeah.
It's so open and rural. For sure. And a lot of silos, and I love silos. We talked about this.
I think we've actually discussed our silo game on this podcast before.
We have in the Friday the 13th review.
That's right.
Silo. So, there's one character here, I think there's 5 friends. They kind of meet up and they have like this RV. He explains, his name is Zach. He's like, our goal is to visit the most extreme haunted houses. I think they hand a phone to one of the other characters. He's got like this ginormous beard, and you'll know the beard guy is Mikey. And this is like where we'd like to go. They show him a video, and the video is depicting a woman tied up with plastic around her face screaming. I'm like, okay, this is sick.
Well, that's what they're into. That's what they're looking for. The whole point is to find something where they kept plastic tied around their face.
I'm curious, was that just like playing at the bar, or was...
I hope so.
I mean, it didn't look like it was playing on like a computer or anything, and I was just like, oh, what an interesting entertainment to have at a bar.
Well, it's a Texas bar during Halloween. That's what they play.
Tyler, Texas is freaking sick, dude.
It's sick. So then I think we get another interview around this point where they talk about background checks for the employees who work at these haunts. And the guy's like, maybe we could do that next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somewhere in the future, like we mentioned earlier, some guy said that the people they have now are better than murderers that like they could have hired or something. I was like, excuse me? Repeat?
Repeat that, please. Let me get that one more time. It's very cool. Like, there's some more interviews, too, where they're talking about, like, one guy who owns a haunted house. And he's like, he once saw, like, a man outside of it. He's, like, munching his teeth at him, like, staring at him. He had entrails all around him. Apparently, he was a paraplegic who had very fast hands.
Yeah, it was, like, the scariest thing he's ever seen. The moral of this story is, if you're looking for work, just wait until October, and you could probably apply to any haunted house in the country. They'll hire.
I can't find online any haunted houses that move around quite like, what was this one called?
Blue Skeleton.
Blue Skeleton.
Yeah, I don't think those, I mean, maybe they exist and they're harder to find, but...
Honestly, I doubt it. It's more conspiracy
I mean,
shit.
to be fair, it wouldn't be readily available on Google if it is one of those secret underground traveling ones.
Like dark web.
You gotta dig a little deeper.
Is there like a Google for the dark web? Is there like dark Google?
I have no idea how the dark web
Tumblr.
Yeah, right.
The deepest pits of Tumblr is the dark web.
Well, I just meant the haunted houses, but yeah, that too.
It's too funny.
It's interesting because they also, in these interviews, they ask how they recruit. How do they find work? It's word of mouth and on the newspaper.
Yeah.
Really, like, a lot of these, like, more local ones, people can just, apply, but...
Can I just say that I'm just like looking at haunted houses like all over on my laptop, and one of the things that come up like in a suggested question on Google is, has anyone died from McCamey Manor? And the first line says, there's a chance of death. Accidents do happen.
I'm out, guys. Definitely out.
So there might be murders at that one. We just don't know. Apparently they don't do background checks.
So this is a road trip that's going to encompass the Halloween season, right? I think it's leading up 5 days, so you kind of get a countdown here. 5 days before Halloween, and this is where you mentioned, Jen, where Bobby, who's one of the main characters and the director of this film, is setting up cameras in his RV. He wants the whole experience caught on tape. Maybe he puts some phantom cameras, or maybe someone else is putting up some phantom cameras.
So stupid. I was so upset about that. We actually pointed that out. We were counting, like me and my friend were counting where he was putting the cameras, and I was like, when did he put this camera up? Because this just looks like a regular movie that someone's filming at. There's parts of the movie in general where it's kind of like, it doesn't look like one of the group is filming. It just seems like someone's following them, and I'm like, excuse me, it was supposed to be found footage.
Well, to the movie's credit though, it does say the movie is spliced of the 2 different footages.
Yeah.
The group's footage and Blue Skeleton. So you could take it as that's the Blue Skeleton footage part of the movie.
I guess.
She doesn't want to give it that much intellectual credit.
It upsets me.
Okay.
That was not clear until the end.
So, spoiler, me and Bryan like this movie a lot more than Jen did, because she despised it.
I just hate it so much.
So I believe now, I guess Mikey is, I love funny fat guys, I'll just be honest. I always say it, I love funny fat guys.
Who doesn't love a funny
fat guy? He's a funny fat guy. He's like shirtless. And they tell him, he's like, Mike, we're doing this thing. You gotta be serious from here on out. He's like, dude, totally. And like the lady walks out of his
Incredible.
Like, where did this woman come from?
He's not just the funny fat guy. He's the guy that gets it the most in the group.
That's a fact. Who's Brandy with? I actually watched the whole movie. I have no idea.
No one.
No one?
No, wait. I thought it was implied she was with
Zach?
Bobby. Or is it Zach?
She sleeps on the same bed as Zach.
Okay, so it's Zach. It's Zach she's implied to be with.
I was looking for that in the movie. It wasn't super clear because they all obviously care about Brandy.
Yeah, well, they're all friends.
Yeah, but I mean, she does sleep in, like, the same bed as Zach, and I'm not sure if that's because they just have limited bedding in the place.
It is possible.
It wasn't overtly clear she was with anyone.
That's fair.
Yeah, so. It could have been Zach, but it doesn't matter.
Could have been Zach.
And the movie doesn't...
Bobby.
Yeah. And the movie plays it that it doesn't matter, because it really doesn't. No. They're just all friends. Except maybe Mikey and Brandy made out at 16? She says no.
She said no.
But Mikey's like, I kind of remember that a little different.
She kind of remembers it like a petting.
Yes, that's what it was, a deep petting.
So they're getting ready to head on the road trip, and they kind of like go into all the characters mentioning how they're doing. They ask Brandy how she's doing. She's like, I'm all moonbeams and unicorns, so she's ready to rock out.
They're all hungover, by the way.
Sure. Zach may or may not have put his dick in a pumpkin the night before, and I think they mentioned there's 7 cameras. There's probably 700 cameras, but they mentioned 7.
There's not 13.
Brandy mentions that, she hasn't been to a haunted house since she was like 8 or 9. So she's excited because this is, I guess, sort of new for her, and she doesn't know what to expect. And then at this point, Mike kind of jumps out and scares her. So yeah, she's not used to it because she's kind of terrified.
She is the one, technically, that is filmed the most. Like, there's very few camera angles from where she's holding the camera.
Yeah, in a movie where we have 5 central characters, I would say Brandy is the focal point of most of the movie. I would say she's like the main of the 5.
Yeah.
I believe after this now, we cut to another interview of a guy telling a story of someone who jumped out of a tree to scare him once, and he punched that guy in the face because it scared him so much.
Was that interview Jeff?
Was that?
Well, the only reason I'm saying that is because Jeff mentioned that he was assaulted by a scare actor when he was younger. Yeah, the person like jumped out of a tree when there was like these strobe lights.
So it was Jeff, okay.
And he mentioned that he like jumped up back into the tree. Like he had this like 7-foot vertical.
Yeah. You know what it is? A lot of the movie is just showing clips of different interviews. You mix up the stories between like who's what, but you're right. It is one of the guys, Jeff, whose story that is.
But Bobby, makes it clear. He's like, we're not going to like haunts at an amusement park. He's like, we're going into the country, the deep backwoods where there's no rules, no regulations.
He also like calls it backwoods a lot, and he kind of just labels every haunted house the haunt house at that point. Yeah. Like a lot of the haunted houses they go to have different names, but he kind of just generally labels it haunt house, and I feel like that's because that's the most quote unquote famous haunted house they actually visited in this movie.
Yeah.
As they are driving, because we haven't mentioned they're driving in the RV the entire time this is going on.
Yeah.
They stop at a convenience store to ask for directions because they have no idea how to get to the haunt house, as you said.
The guy mentions to them, he's like, yeah, it's just like, it's like 5 miles up the road right in the middle of a forest. So I'm like, oh, they're fucked, they're ready. First haunted house they go to.
So they get back in, and the 4 that aren't driving all take a shot of something.
Road shots!
Jeff takes an air shot while driving.
No, he jerks off an elephant.
Yes, he does jerk off an elephant. Then takes his road shot. Then they proceed to read Jeff's poetry, which is better than Jeff's rap, but not by much.
This whole, subplot of him being fucking Edgar Allan Poe is so strange.
It's just because, he's not really much of a character. There was really no reason for him to be there.
Someone had to drive.
He had to drive.
That's true.
So, Shane, do you want to recite his poem?
I actually don't know it because it was so bad.
I'm gonna just insert some lines here. I thought it was actually just such creative genius.
Okay, let's hear it.
I am poem. I wonder if demons even inhabited the earth. I hear angels crying in my barn. I touch the roughness of Bigfoot's arm. Bars.
Now, I have to ask. I'm going to completely ignore that you just said that and don't care about it. Do you also have his rap written down when it comes up?
No.
Oh,
because
God.
When I heard it, I wanted to drown myself.
Thank God. We don't need any more of that Shakespeare.
I know, right? So... the first night, they're going to the haunt house in Caddo Mills, Texas. And it's cool because they see a bunch of actors getting their makeup put on. And during nighttime, the haunt is active. And you see all the costumes outside. Always clowns.
Yeah, it's a part of the movie I actually really like. They show, them get ready, what it looks like during the day, and then, just that cool transition to what it all culminates to at night.
Because on the outside, they're people. You see them getting into costumes. Yeah. They're just people, but what's really going on in their head? That's what they try to get
into this movie.
That's actually almost like their thesis of the trip. What's the psyche behind these people? And they want to see the psyche behind the most crazy haunted houses. And I meant you see clowns. I think my favorite costume is actually in this first one because you see zombie oil tycoon who hugs Brandy.
Is that what he was supposed to be? I love the idea.
Dimsdale. He's back, Shane.
This specific haunted house in Texas, actually, like, I tried to find all the haunted houses they went to, but they call them all haunt house because I guess, like, this one in Texas was the most famous they went to. It's the only one I could see was an old building. This haunt house in Texas used to be a mall.
Wow.
I could see that. Like, malls are scary towards the night
when
they are in a haunted house.
It makes sense, though, because they're spaced off into a lot of haunted houses. They're all, like, you go into room, next room to next room to next room.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. Going, through the retail stores.
While they're waiting in line, they see a coffin that they tell Brandy to lay into. And then they, like, lock her in it, and she gets really freaked out because she's claustrophobic.
Exactly. I even think you get your first sight of the porcelain-faced girl.
Yes.
It's here. And we will see her again. They label her porcelain in the credits. And it's interesting because I was always calling her the porcelain-faced girl. I don't know if that's how you referred to her.
I referred to her as the doll-faced girl.
Same.
But when I saw her name as Porcelain, I'm like, holy shit, I got something right for once in my life.
So then, after, Brandy's upset about getting locked in the coffin, they actually finally go inside the haunt house, and we have your usual clowns, big fans, demons, ghoulies.
Yeah, I think they're walking through. I think it was an experiment to see how scared Brandy will get, because, like, she's getting scared by, like, ladies in the closet. Yeah. There's a creepy man walking behind her, which I just absolutely love. Like, walking through these houses.
And they just follow you.
Yeah, when they follow me, or I actually point them to scare, like...
Mike.
But
this is then when they're inside a certain room, Brandy sees the porcelain girl. She has this, like, it's like red lipstick, a blank white face, and, like, this, like, stringy hair.
She has 14 strands of hair.
Did you count?
He paused it specifically to count.
She scared me, man. The first time I saw this years ago... It just scared me.
She's creepy. That would actually be like a creepy thing to see in the haunted house.
And all these haunted houses in this movie, they just have this blaring heavy metal music. Like, you can't have a haunted house without the heavy rock.
No.
Like, Black Sabbath needs to be at everyone. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And then they go through it. They get chased out at the very end by a man with a chainsaw, which is my nightmare.
Leatherface?
Just anything with a chainsaw. Chainsaws are terrifying. That's the one thing I'm always scared of when I go to a haunted house. Yeah. I, like, hide behind someone if the chainsaw is coming near.
They're scary. You just see they're getting revved up with a chainsaw. I mean, like, as a kid, you go through those, like, I forget what they're called, but you're on, like, a moving cart, and, like, it's out in the woods, and people are kind of jumping from the bushes, and you always get the chainsaw guy just trying to be Leatherface.
I've used a friend's family member as a human shield during one of those.
That sounds... pretty accurate. There is a cool shot in here, though. I like while Brandy's going through this, I love the creativity and the ingenuity of some of these, where she sees this guy running towards her, and the guy's head just explodes because it gets shot from behind him.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sick. Because when we go to haunted houses, I always look for the coolest stuff. Like the one time, they had the television set, and we sat down, and the freaking couch moved backwards, and there was some guy with a chainsaw hitting the cage in front of us. It was
terrifying.
They're done with the haunt at this point after they kind of get chased out by Chainsaw Dude. Bobby tells Zach, he's like, I don't really care about this place. I just want to talk to the people. So I guess cigarette break time for this clown character. He's got his mask off, and they go and approach him and talk to him.
So this is the guy where they ask him, does shady shit happen in these haunts? And he says, yeah. And then the camera just lingers on him, like they're like waiting for him to elaborate, but he just gives this like weird look into the camera, and it's like, what's he insinuating happens at these things?
Yeah.
Or like the guy's like, I don't know, you're gonna film me, jeez.
Yeah. That's an ongoing thing though. They don't want to be filmed.
Like a duality thing here. It's just like, you're doing a list, don't you want the kind of publicity? And the other hand, it's like, I don't want you knowing what I do here.
Exactly. It's like, you're kind of like being a performer here. It's almost like you're becoming a different person. It's just like, you don't want that on camera. Like, that different person that you are during this time.
You're acting out suppressed urges.
Exactly. It's like, this is just your place to let that out, and you don't want someone televising that to a bunch of people.
A haunted house is just the place if you have, like, I guess, strange ideas to just let your shit fly.
Or if you just like to scare people, you know? You just like to be weird and kooky for a night.
You can kind of tell that they were actually filming at real haunted houses, and I'm not actually sure. I couldn't find if that guy was part of the cast and knew what they were doing, or was actually just someone from the haunted house, because you can hear them throughout the movie asking at the haunted houses, hey, do you mind if we film? Because they have to get permission to film in places like this.
I would take it most of them were, because even in the end credits, the 5 main characters have their names, but every other person listed just says himself, herself, so that everyone does just play themselves.
And this is what brings me to the next part of the movie, where I just think the group starts asking for it. Because Mikey climbs a ladder to the top of the haunt, gets on a megaphone, I think he screams Happy Halloween, and then he sees all the members of the haunt kind of get together, and then they're like, we're gonna get discovered, gotta get out of here.
A clown approaches him and tries to take his phone, I believe it is, or something like that.
Was that a clown? It kind of looked like Michael Myers.
Well, it was a clown, and the only reason I'm saying that is because In the next scene, they're driving off, and as they're about to drive away, the clown is standing in front of the RV, and he says, "That's the guy who tried to take your camera."
I put myself in that position. You just turn on your ignition, you flash your high beams, and there's a fucking clown 5 feet in front of you.
Yeah.
That was the clown that was pissed earlier, like the one that saw him on the roof and was like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah.
So he hasn't been approached by, like, any of the cast members yet.
And he doesn't move, so they actually have to, like, drive around him to get out. Commitment.
So they drive off, and they all go to sleep in the RV, and you have this, like, shot. It's a static shot of just them sleeping in the RV. It's just one of the cameras they have propped up, and you kind of see a shadow walking by.
You hear footsteps, you hear the faint noise.
So one guy goes outside, if anything's out there.
Like an idiot.
Which one was it that goes outside? This one I don't remember.
Zach?
Was it Zach who goes outside?
I think it's Mike.
Alright, so Mike goes outside, and he's, like, looking into the bushes, and he hears, like, an animal rustle, and it, like, scares him, and he turns around, and there's just a guy standing there in a mask. It scares the shit out of him,
But
and it's Bobby.
Bobby.
He got him. Mikey was not happy with that.
No, it's freaking terrifying.
Yeah. And then, cut to 4 days to Halloween.
And it's time for their next haunt.
While they're driving in the RV. So this movie is a lot of driving in the RV. They're talking about how the time Zach was a bodybuilder for Halloween, and he's like, I wasn't a bodybuilder. I was the shake weight.
I remember that. I like their kind of interactions and their dialogue. Brandy's like, I'm reading that penis size is related to shoe size, which makes the fear of being raped by a clown that much scarier.
I hate that joke.
It's
so much.
It's creepy to think about.
Now I have the image of Mike G getting raped by a clown.
Wow.
I'm good.
Yeah, if we haven't established this, Mike G has a severe fear of clowns.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Terrified.
That's why, as Bryan said earlier, when we go into haunted houses with him, Bryan points the clowns towards Mike G.
100% has to be done.
I'm going to quote one of my personal favorite podcasts, My Favorite Murder, with one of their best early quotes. Pepper spray first and apologize later.
That's fair. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think Zach is, like, ridiculously high at this point.
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah, and then Mike's like, it may not be a good idea for you to go into the haunt that fucked up.
Yeah, this is the scene where they, like, start trading food snacks. He's like, this is the best trade I ever made as he's, like, eating a donut. And they do mention, like, is he visibly high or something like that during this scene.
This is the only thing I thought that they might have brought back, but I don't really think they did. They asked Brandy what she's most afraid of. She says snakes.
Yeah, but they kind of bring it back because they go into this, like, whole, like, would you lay in a coffin with
that's
snakes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're kind of playing like a would you rather with each other. Like that game where you're like, how much money would it take for you to do X, Y, or Z?
Yeah, that's my favorite game to play with fucking Shane. Because Shane would do almost anything for money.
Not true.
You would lie in a coffin for $5,000 with a bunch of snakes.
Well, yeah. That's not that bad.
If they're not poisonous.
Yeah.
They're not poisonous. They rule that out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lay in, if they're poisonous, 5,000 is not gonna do me much good if I'm dead,
I'd
but...
honestly rather lay in a coffin with, like, snakes rather than bugs. Snakes actually don't scare me
I'm
really
complete
whatsoever.
agreeance. I would not do it with bugs. I could definitely do it with snakes. If it was, like, Fear Factor and I'm laying in a coffin of cockroaches, I'm out.
I gotta bring this up because we're talking coffins. Do you remember my restaurant idea? My lewd restaurant idea?
I don't.
Where I was gonna make a restaurant and the big attraction was the sex coffin? You don't remember that at all?
No. When
Holy
did you
shit.
bring that up ever?
I'd like to not be part of this business exchange.
Years ago. It was like a nice bar, but if people wanted to pay a little extra, they go in the back where there's this ginormous coffin people could both fit in and have sex. Hence the sex coffin.
I feel like I blocked that from my memory.
Do they pay by the hour?
Pay by the hour.
I mean, it's not a bad business.
No, there's no whore or there's no stripper.
It's
anything
just
illegal.
two people that want to do this.
You pay a little extra, you have sex in the sex coffin. You know what I'm saying?
Is the sex coffin in the bar? Is it in, like, another room?
In the back of the bar. I actually don't even know if it's legal.
Your idea is to prevent people from, like, hooking up in, like, one of your bathroom stalls. You just have a sex coffin.
Designated sex coffin. It would be cleaned out.
And it's behind the bar.
Behind the bar. Sometimes you can elevate it, maybe shake it and rattle it.
I honestly assumed it was already elevated.
You guys on board? Sex coffin? Yeah.
I've already opted out.
Honestly, I might opt in because it sounds like it can make some money.
Exactly. You son of a bitch. I knew it.
So back to the movie that just has regular coffins. The gang stops in the woods for a short little campfire to have some drinks. This is the scene that we've been alluding to. The rap scene. Jeff gives this, like, It's just the worst rap I've ever heard.
It's really horrible.
Jen, please give us your opinion, because I know you'll love this scene.
There's just, like, no reason for his character. Like, I don't understand why he's there. He adds nothing to it. Most of them don't really add anything to it. They're such stereotypical characters in the sense, like, all the guys, they need a token girl. They need their final girl. It's just so stupid. Yeah. I hate this scene.
The only reason I don't hate all of them is because I could see if me and Bryan and a couple other friends were in an RV. That's kind of how we would be in the RV.
You think so?
You don't think we would be doing Would You Rather in the coffin with snakes?
Jen, I'll be honest with you, that is kind of what we do.
I mean, that's what they did it for. Like, they're trying to make you feel relatable to these people.
We don't even need an RV. That's Friday night.
Then this, like, super awkward scene happens. And even more awkward than this horrible rap. This guy in, like, a skeleton face paint?
Yeah.
Just walks up and sits at the campfire. He's like, so you're at my campfire.
Pretty sure it's Papa Shango.
Yeah.
Without the top hat.
I'm kind of assuming that they're technically on someone's property and they don't realize it.
Well, because he says that,
The
essentially.
fire is still kind of burning before they even go there. So someone was using it. I think the guy that appears behind Mikey, because Mikey was talking about how he wants to get his beer repaired or something like that.
Yeah.
He appears behind him. And obviously, everybody goes still. He's like, y'all enjoying my fire. And they're obviously terrified. And then Bobby makes some really stupid mistakes. He goes, oh, you live out in the woods, or you live out in the backwoods?
And the thing is, he does live in the woods.
Yeah.
The guy says he lives in the woods.
It's like, what you mean, backwoods?
Oh yeah, he kind of refers to it like, in a sense, calling this guy a dumb hillbilly or something, is like trying to allude that, oh, the rules here are different. And you don't tell people who are different, that are isolated from like a lot of people, you don't tell them how different they are and that they live in like a strange place. That's just dangerous.
And
nobody wants to hear that.
I feel like they do that a lot too, where they refer to these people as backwoods people while the people are within like hearing distance.
It's a territory thing, you know, the city slickers versus rural, the clash.
And they wonder why people don't want to talk to them. Like, I wouldn't want to talk to them if like I was, because like I have friends out in like Oklahoma that live in like a very rural area. It's very farmland, very different from where we live. And that would just be so rude.
Yeah, it is kind of rude. You can see why people get pissed off. Would I terrorize them and bury them alive? I don't think so.
But they're also
What's the last part?
But they're also like being paid to scare people.
Yes.
This is a sense in a way they're like, oh, these people are pissing me off. I'm going to reach the limit that I can.
I think the exchange just ends there. At least that's what the camera does. Yeah, the camera just stops filming.
Exactly. And it picks up with them getting to the Rise haunted house, which is the zombie paintball hayride, which honestly looks like a lot of fun.
It does.
I'd actually do that one.
You do this one?
I think it's fun. The last haunted house thing I went to, it's near a college out like closer to like the Philly area. And it's this like haunted hayride type thing. I don't know if you know which one it is. I could probably look it up, but they had like 5 different attractions. And one of them was like a hayride where like you would get on and like people couldn't touch you or anything, but they would jump out at you. I didn't really mind that one because like people obviously can't touch you or anything. And thinking of like shooting people, like that would be so fun, like paintballing people.
Yeah.
Off the hayride.
I'd be in for that.
I think that would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool. And I think that actually, in the whole pandemic situation, they might have those, honestly.
Well, because if you can space people out far enough and you're just shooting at someone, it might work.
Just like people distancing at the place, like waiting and getting food might be an issue.
That would be the issue. These things get crowded, these attractions.
Yeah.
So.
Especially the one I went to had like 5 different attractions. Like I went when I was still in college and we did like a bunch of them.
They are now at this place. They are shooting endless zombies. You see them filming after the ride and they're talking about something. But in the background of the shot, you see the creepy clown from the last haunted house they were at. So this is the first instance you're getting that the actors are following them from place to place, or at least some of them.
Viewer sees this, they don't pick this up.
No. And it's really creepy.
He's like somewhat obstructed by not only the darkness, but the tree.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is very creepy. Because you know, now they're getting stalked. And you're going to find out they're about to get even more stalked, because when they're about to pull out of the parking lot, there's a broken down car. Next to the broken down car is the porcelain girl.
Yes. And this is probably one of the scariest scenes in the movie.
Sorry, the haunted attraction I was referring to was Creamy Acres Night of Terror in, like, Mullica Hill.
Creamy Acres. Do they have ice cream? The ice cream haunted house just sounds honestly perfect.
Okay, so now we're pitching the ice cream haunted house.
With the sex coffin.
No, this one doesn't have the sex coffin. This is just ice cream and haunted houses.
Can you imagine someone jumping out at you, like, while you're at the sex coffin?
That'd be interesting. Man, someone jumping in the coffin with you, just grabbing you and jumping in there.
Yeah, because the person jumping in is this creepy porcelain doll girl that we're now talking about here.
I hate her. Mike is so stupid for this scene.
Okay, I can look at it two ways. One, he just does go outside because it looks like a car's broken down, and it looks like just a scare actor that needs help.
It looks like a car's broken down with no car in sight. Got it.
Well, no, there was a car.
Oh, was there?
Yes, there is a car there. Okay, so this is where he does do something dumb. Because she clearly doesn't say anything to him, but he still kind of leads her into the RV.
I think one of them mentions that even Brandy's like, isn't that the same girl that we saw at the last attraction 100 miles out?
Yeah. So now they're getting idea that they're being followed. So she sits in the RV with them and just stares and then just does this like demon shriek. Like,
dude, I don't know how to classify this noise, but this is the pitch that makes me want to eat my own ass.
I also thought she was wearing a mask, and like, I was so confused when she suddenly just screamed and the mask seemed to stretch because it literally looks like a doll face.
Yeah.
And the fact that like it stretched like that creeped me out. Can I just point out, Mike says she just follows him onto the bus, and that pissed me off. Like, oh, this random, really weird, really creepy person is following me. Let me not like make sure I close the door behind me. I'm just gonna let her follow me onto the bus where all my friends are. This is not strange whatsoever. That pissed me off.
He even mentions that like they didn't exchange any words.
No.
So he just like kind of like walks and is like okay with her coming in behind them, which is kind of ridiculous.
I guess he's looking at it as like she probably is like 5'1", 92 pounds. So it's like if she tried anything, the four guys could fend her off. So he's not too concerned. But like still, I wouldn't be letting a strange person onto my RV.
You're 100% right. Logically, what they should have done was not have Mikey go out. They should have had Zach go out because Zach would have brought her in to question her. That would have made more sense. I think this is weak writing because, you know, Zach's trying to like learn and get behind their psyche or whatever. Mikey, him just going in there, like Jen said, just was kind of pointless.
Yeah, that does make a lot more sense because Zach would have been super into her not saying anything and then like you said, wanting to question her on the RV. Whereas Mikey, he just would want to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
He still could have questioned her. This is such a dumb scene. Like, I understand the point of it, but just like, if one of my friends was just like, oh, she just followed me, I would be like, okay, leave.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't understand. I hate this so much.
I think after she lets out this horrifying moan, shriek.
It's
screech?
Yeah, screech. I like that one.
It's creepy. She does like this hissing noise too, where she like slightly opens up her mouth. It's
Yeah.
creepy.
She's like a really bad banshee.
Banshee, yeah.
Terrible at her job.
So she just stands up
And leaves.
and Bobby's like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Smartest thing anyone has said in the last 15 minutes.
And then they show some more interviews here. They mention one guy who served his community by working at a haunted house.
Is this the one where they also talk about, like, the weird pedophile, or is that, like...
No, that was actually the intro to the movie, I thought. I think it was.
It's, like, scattered throughout. Like, these interviews are so scattered, I'm not really sure where each of them is, because they don't... Other than, like, showing behind the scenes, quote-unquote, of these houses, they don't really have any lead-ups, which I think they could have done better. This is where I'm going to put a rewrite. I would prefer if they utilized the interviews better, and I would love if they put foreshadowing in with these interviews to what was about to happen and maybe had like a lead into it. Like, it really felt like a really low graded movie. So the fact that they didn't plan enough ahead to ask certain questions to lead into it, it just was disappointing, and I feel like they could have done it so much better.
I see what you're saying. So it would have been more cohesive with what they're going through next, where it kind of seems like they were just throwing stuff in the middle of the...
That makes sense.
And they were repeating it a lot. Like, there were a lot of scenes that were very much repeated that I feel like they were hoping that you would forget about.
Mm-hmm.
And that'd be like, oh, here it is again.
The scene's going to transition to the day following. And
3 days till Halloween.
Thanks, buddy. Are you leaking? You're still leaking. Zach mentions that he's tracking this password. He's looking for a haunt. Blue skeleton, blue something. It's along those lines.
Maybe the blue skull.
Maybe. He's on the forums. I want to say it's the dark web. It's definitely not the dark web. But he's looking at the message boards. And Shane loves forums.
I guess.
And he's like, it was mentioned first to be in Dallas, then Houston. He's like, it's not that, you know, it's in the backwoods, but they have to travel to the backwoods to find the password. There's this, like, underground secret haunt society that are planning this extreme haunt that he's trying to track. So, we'll see where that gets him.
Yeah. But In the meantime, they're going to Terrorplex in Mansfield, Texas, one or the other.
I was going to correct you, so I'm happy you corrected yourself.
Thanks. I couldn't read my own writing.
It's like at this point that he's, in the beginning of each haunt, when you're just like with the crowd and everything, he's like asking around people. It's like he's looking for an exclusive club. He's like...
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. Now, in this place, one of the guys, I also don't remember which one it was in this scene, has to go take a piss. Is it Zach?
It's Zach.
It's Zach. He goes deep into the woods for some reason, like deeper than one would need to. And there's just a man in this like mangled bunny suit holding an axe watching him.
That was Zach?
I think it was.
I think it was Zach.
Okay.
The bunny is just like kind of like hopping near him as he's taking a piss. And he's like, aren't you a little like far away from the haunted house? Like, you don't need to be like in the role right now.
What the hell's he doing out in the forest?
Well, that's what we'll learn later while he's out there.
Yeah, I know. At this point, you're like, did you just come out here just to piss with me? You know,
Exactly.
trek a mile into the forest?
And like Zach legitimately gets scared because he like falls over and starts running and like falls over again. And the bunny like hops right over him with the axe and then just hops away.
Like,
Yeah.
just laughing at him like really hard.
He does this like little clicking tongue noise.
Yeah. And he's a rabbit.
Yeah. They're at the Mansfield haunt. More clowns. A lot of clowns at these haunts. I guess that's the number one costume. There's also a bandaged-faced man with a bra, right?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sure, why not?
Completely bandaged face. And I love it because he's starting to like mess around with Mikey, like touches his beard and shit.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
There's obviously more, heavy metal music because there just has to be. And there's also a blood nurse with vampire teeth. You remember her?
Of course, how could I forget
She's
Blood Nurse?
A really long neck.
She did. That was a long neck. So they enter the haunt. It's dark.
A chandelier falls on a table.
Yeah. Is this the haunt it is, right? Where they're like going to the dinner table and
Yeah.
they see like all the plates and
Yeah.
there's like people seated at the...
Yeah,
I don't even know if they were like real people or fake people.
they were fake.
Fake, right?
Because this is where the chandelier falls on the center of the dinner table.
And I think the table, could be wrong, there's also some brains.
Yeah, I think they were eating like human. This is also the haunt house where like shit is just jumping out of everywhere.
Yeah,
Like, it's
chaos.
honestly hard to keep track of everything that's jumping out. But a cool thing that happens in this one is they go into like this makeshift elevator in the haunt. And I don't know how, I guess that it doesn't go up or down, but the whole thing like shakes like it's about to collapse. And I wonder how that haunted house did that, because this haunted house looks like it was made in the middle of nowhere by not professionals. Like, because like, how do you do that?
No, that's pretty cool. There's some cool scenes. Like you mentioned, there's a lot going on. It's like they're actually walking through this.
Yeah.
They do a pretty good job of showing it. And I'm just going to briefly mention some of the stuff that one of the cool things that they see is, I think they go into a room, they see like this girl, and she's like, was in a refrigerator banging, and they see her in this room, and they show this man's voice, like, you want a piece of her, boys? And like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
But then the elevator, like you said, it shakes, and they're just trying to get out, and I could be wrong, but I think they try to open a door, and they see like this old woman in like a white gown holding a baby, and then they're like, alright, we gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here, because then they continue to go, and they see some dude like carving up another guy, right? And he's like, take it, fucker. Take it, fucker. He's like carving someone up. There's also cages here. There's like a girl in a cage, and then, do you remember like up from the cage?
There's like a demented dog supposed to be
That's
in
a
a cage.
demented, yeah, that looks like some kind of Resident Evil shit.
Yeah, like a demon dog in a cage. This is also where towards the end of this haunt, the actors saying, Brandy, come to us, Brandy, or something along those lines.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
I didn't notice that.
Because at the end, she's like, you guys, that wasn't fucking funny telling them my name.
Yeah, they reveal her name, and she's fucking creeped out by this. Did you also see the baby's room area, where they go walk into the baby's room, and there's that woman that was just sitting down and stands up, and she just had way too much lip?
Yeah.
Ew.
I didn't even know what to do with her lips.
Nothing. Just pretend they're not there.
Just leave.
Yeah.
So more interviews, and this is really interesting, this interview that they conduct with this actor. He mentions that at a haunted house, he heard that like, there was a person who replaced the noose they had on the set with his own noose, and he actually hung himself during a haunt while it was going on.
You know what they say, accidents happen.
Now it's 2 days to Halloween.
Oh, thanks for telling us, Bri.
You got it, it's my countdown, it's my tracker.
And this is the part where I talked about earlier, where they discuss if any places would use real human body parts. How would they even know if the body parts are real or not? Like, it'd be hard to tell.
Yeah, Mikey and Zach are kind of having a debate on the interpretation of what is scary, and this is going to always end to the same conclusion. Everybody thinks certain shit is scary. Everyone has a different opinion of what is scary.
Exactly. The quote said, like, what's scary to you? Vampires, demons, monsters, ghouls, or, like, the real things that people do? Like, what's scarier? And each person finds something scarier.
Yeah.
So. But you know what isn't scary? The place they go to next. The Zombie Strip Club. The whole time I'm like, where's Robert Englund?
Like, how does this even happen? Zach starts getting phone calls from this girl named Chantel. He meets this old woman, freaking hands him some cash. They all go to the strip club, like, what the fuck's going on?
Now, are you into the whole strip club with them wearing zombie masks?
To this day, I've never been to a strip club. I have no idea what it's like. Is it like that?
I've been to one and it wasn't.
Because from my documentation, it looked like Mike, Jeff, and Zach were all getting titty baths.
Can I just say that the boobs in some of these scenes, like, they clearly wanted them to look very erect, and they're so fake. Like, some of them are just so fake, like, they're really close-up shots, and I'm just like, well, if that ain't a rubber boob...
I think Jeff is sandwiched between 4 of them, or is that Mike? I think it's Jeff.
All of them.
They all get the baths, and
Brandy's just like on the side, like, why am I in here? I could have just waited on the RV.
She looks like this is like a ginormous waste of time. Are we throwing out passion bumps to any of this, or just gonna gloss right over it?
I'd passion bump it. I mean, I don't think the girls particularly feel any passion toward these guys, considering they're all wearing fake tits.
And they definitely
over their real tits.
They definitely like the fact that they're taking all of their travel money. They're just fucking lumping cash into their freaking thong.
I mean, we could passion bump this, or we could passion bump the scene coming up where Mikey is talking to the actor in the RV.
Oh, yeah. No, we're doing that. We're doing
the implication of that scene.
Yeah, we're doing that.
I thought that was before the strip scene.
No, it comes up after. It's actually coming up pretty soon.
So the next haunt they're going to stop at is Phobia. It's on US Highway 248 in Texas. And more clowns, more heavy metal music. Imagine you're taking a shit and a clown's rocking you in the porta-john.
Yeah, that's gotta be annoying. Not even scary, just annoying.
They actually do that at my friends who like to go to actual haunts. They do scare you when you're in the bathroom.
The one thing that is sacred to almost all human beings is your time alone in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You don't want that ruined.
I'm curious if you could find Phobia or any of that, because I'm curious if they changed the names at all just for the movie, because that wasn't one of like the 3 more prominent haunted houses that was listed when I was looking it up.
And I think this is the one that they say, no recording. We don't want you to do anything. I think they go through it, but they shut the cameras down so you actually don't see anything.
They do, but they still have a fight afterwards. This is, though, the scene where Zach is talking to these 2 guys about Blue Skull, and he's trying to get information, and Mikey is talking to this girl worker inside of the RV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she still even got the makeup on.
While the cameras are recording. This isn't like a third-party recording. This is a camera that, who is it, Bob?
Bobby sets up.
Yeah, Bobby set up prior, so Mike is just like aware that he's filming all of this.
Yeah, so like Shane mentioned earlier, Zach is getting the intel, find out that this blue skeleton, I guess, traveling extreme haunt was previously in San Antonio, but this year is going to be in Louisiana, so this is what he's trying to track. As they head to the RV, I think a clown approaches them, right?
After, like, they're done with, like, the haunt and everything. So they go through it, they're all done. And Mike, I guess, like, met them out there afterwards. Yeah. Like, he was clearly flirting with this girl, trying to get laid.
And see, that's what I was saying. That was my passion bump, because he keeps leading her on, like, oh, have you ever done this in makeup? Yeah. Oh, have you ever hooked up with a coworker?
So stupid. Oh, have you ever hooked up in makeup? What does it even matter?
Look, I'm passion bumping the idea that Mike wants to have sex with a zombie nurse.
I'm also pretty sure he actually did it.
Yes, that's what it kind of is led to believe that.
And he mentions it, but not only that, she contorts for him.
Yeah, she does. Oh, we're passion bumping the contortion.
Yeah.
Well, because she goes to take off her jacket, and she's like, oh, I gotta take this off. He's like, I don't mind.
What a dog.
It's assumed that they have sex, and, like, it's all done. Like, they don't really show anything past, like, them flirting and stuff like that. I guess he meets them out afterwards.
Yeah. Yes, this is where he meets outside. And this is where they're being confronted by the clown, who is like, I know you guys filmed, give me the tapes. Now, was he referring to them filming inside the haunted house, or them filming the girl inside the RV?
I think he was referring to them in the RV.
That's what I thought,
too. They lead you to think that it's in the haunt, but it's not.
He means the girl, right?
I thought they said yes to filming at that haunt. Did they say no? Did I miss that?
I think this is the one where they don't, because you see them kind of like shut off the camera, and it cuts to them not even doing anything in the haunt.
That wasn't really made super clear to me, but I know that they've been asking, like, the whole time, like, can we film just to make sure? Yeah. So, like, Shane, I thought that he was alluding about, like, Mike taping having sex with that girl.
That's what I thought they meant.
Wait, what did you think?
That I always assumed he was alluding to filming the girl, not the film. Yeah, okay, so we're all in agreement there.
That's what I think. And this makes you think, like, all right, well, they've already been bugged.
Because how would anyone know that? Yeah. And that's also now where they almost fight. They don't. The clown walks away.
He makes threats, though.
Yeah, he does make threats.
He makes threats, starts pushing them.
Gonna, like, something you, and then he points at Bryan, he's like, I'm gonna fuck you. Yeah. And he's like, no!
Yeah.
I opt out.
Sodomy is thrown in there somewhere.
I want to get him pissed off, and fuck her, pointing to Brandy.
Yeah.
And that fucking sets them off.
Yeah.
Like, that sets them off. You know, obviously she's the one person they're trying to protect.
So they leave, they sleep in the RV, and now they're being filmed.
But I think this is interesting because Mikey says something. He's like, maybe I shouldn't have made a sex tape with his sister.
Did he actually say that?
Yeah.
He does say that.
He thinks that, and this is I guess the perception that they're all
related.
They even mention it, like all of these people are kind of like related because they're the backwoods. And all this is getting picked up. They're at war with these people almost.
I mean, you can assume low-key, based on, like, the next scene that they were watching them, but you could also assume that, like, she just told someone and it got to him.
Yeah, but how would she know she was being filmed?
It depends. Like, they don't really show too much of the dialogue after that. Like, maybe Mike says, do you mind being taped or something?
That's very possible.
But, like, we don't spend, like, too much time with them personally, so we don't know.
I wonder if she went in there intentionally.
To set them up?
Like, what if the whole thing was just a setup for him?
Well, that's what I like about this movie, is that, like, there's certain ones that you know her, but you don't know if everyone's in on it or who is in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now, like I said, they're sleeping in the RV, and someone is walking around filming them while they're sleeping.
So sick, dude.
And
who does this? This is so sick.
Yeah. The person filming steals Jeff's ID. Why Jeff's ID? I actually don't know right now, but that's whose ID gets taken. He gets, like, really close to one of Brandy and almost touches her.
Caresses her cheek. I do not know how she doesn't wake up.
I do. I've seen you do it.
Your joking privileges have just been revoked because you've used that quote in, like, every...
It's not every podcast. It's whenever we talk about sleeping, because you always say, I don't know how you woke up. And I have yelled in your face while you were sleeping, and you have slept through it, and I've just left.
Have you caressed my cheek?
I'm gonna start doing it.
I think one of you guys did actually poke me on the shoulder once, you said.
Mike did.
But
I'm just proving Bryan can sleep through anything.
They zoom in on all of them, though. Like, they kind of do, like, a close-up to show, like, everybody sleeping. Because later in the morning when, Zach and Bobby?
Yeah.
Are going through, they're like, they show every single one of us.
Yeah. It's creepy. And because it is, like you mentioned, I think Zach's the one who finds it on
a forum.
And they actually see it played back. Good amount of time focused on all of them zoomed in sleeping.
Yeah. And a thing to note here is that only Zach and Mikey see this. They say not to show the rest of the group because he doesn't want to freak them out. And then, you know, some other stuff happens. Mikey opens the fridge and finds what I believe to be a cow heart.
Or stomach of some sort.
Yeah.
I did not know what it is. I labeled it as a blood heap.
I think it's a cow heart, because I think one of them say heart, and obviously it's not a human heart, because it's like triple the size.
They do say heart, and, like, a heart is, like, veiny and almost personally, like, I don't know what a freaking cow heart looks like, but personally, I feel like hearts are more veiny. That was very, like, liver-esque.
Yeah, it was.
It was huge, so it has to be an animal.
We'll go cow liver. I like it.
Sure.
Jeff is, like, surfacing the van, looking for his license that he'll never find. Mikey's in pink panties, but he definitely is, like, having a hard time with the bloody thing in the fridge.
Considering he's puking in the sink.
Which is disgusting.
Agreed. They think that, like, one of them might have done it. Like, they're arguing with each other. Like, I don't think anybody would go that far. I don't know how effed up those guys are, but...
This is where, though, they get the message.
We do see Mike talking to Brandy outside. It's clear that those guys don't want to go any further and continue this, because now they are actively getting stalked. But they are starting to drive to Louisiana. And you're right, Zach gets some kind of a message on a forum.
That's what it is.
He has to head to Baton Rouge, to the D&D bar.
The Dungeons and Dragons bar.
I knew that was coming. And ask for Giggles. Mr. Giggles.
So they go to this bar in Baton Rouge that is all
scare actors.
Yeah. And they're all in full makeup. But what makes it even weird is they're in character.
100%. I'm happy you pointed that out. It's like this is they're living the persona. Like you see the creepy couple just like slow dancing in character. Very creepy.
And they go right up to the people at the bar and it's like, hey, we're meeting a Mr. Giggles here. And they're like, oh yeah, Mr. Giggles, go sit over there. He'll come over shortly. And then this guy in like an escaped insane asylum outfit, we'll call it, goes and hits a song on the jukebox. And this weird-ass clown starts dancing towards them.
Terrifying. I wish Mike G was here to see this. Dancing up and down. It's very creepy. And
Brandy goes to the bathroom first. She gets creeped out. She's like, I'm going to the bathroom. And then those guys come up to the table and is like, Mr. Giggles is outside. He wants to talk to you, but he won't do it on camera. So they leave the camera on the table.
Yes.
For some odd freaking reason. They leave a very expensive piece of equipment in a random bar with a lot of really creepy people on a table.
Well, that's not even the most questionable thing they do, is they're in a random bar in Baton Rouge, and they go outside and leave the girl in that bar by herself.
So the 3 guys accost her in the bathrooms. 4? Well, shit.
Well, aren't there 4 guys?
No, it's 3 that go to Brandy in the bathroom, I believe.
No, I thought they were talking about the 4 guys that leave the bar.
Oh, no, he was talking about the guys that go to Brandy now.
The guys that go to the Brandy. It's interesting because these guys don't like it when they're being filmed, but they have no problem making a movie of their own when they go into the woman's bathroom with poor Brandy by herself.
Yeah, and they're trying to cast her as the lead actress here.
She's the final girl.
They're just obviously very pushy, and she just wants to get out of this situation.
For sure.
Yeah.
Very clear that their intentions are terrible. And what does she do? Rush past them?
Yeah, she's just like, you're not gonna leave the bathroom. She just walks around them. She's like, I gotta get out of
fuck this shit. And she does what I do in large crowds. And she essentially like puts her hand through a crack and just goes right through it.
Yeah.
Just slips on through. And I think the guys come back.
Yeah, Bob is like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, and they basically like back the fuck up, get away from her. They do get their camera back, though.
I think they just straight up take it, because the camera goes in and out, because, let's think of it, it is what they're filming on, so... Yeah. But they do take it back. They go back to the RV, and I think it's the next day, Mikey mentioning, he's been talking on Facebook with some people who are also looking for Blue Skeleton, and Zach's, talk to them, exchange some information. And then there's a bang on the RV.
A lot of loud banging, and then it leads to the power being cut on the RV. So they have this idea that if we just turn the RV on, it'll start up the generator and turn all the lights on. And in a turn of events, when the lights go on, there's about 50 people outside the RV.
All in costume.
A lot of clowns.
Surrounding the RV. And then, all of a sudden, they're kind of gone.
Yeah, so please
explain to me
how 50 people disappear that fast without any noise or,
So you're asking me this time.
Anyone. Either of you two.
They disperse.
It's a movie.
I actually know the reason for this. Have you ever had Bojangles? You have had Bojangles. I think we've had it together, no?
Yeah, it was on the ride home from Nashville.
Yeah, so in this area, I think they're still in Mansfield at this point. There's a great Bojangles on the side of the road, and they're hitting the Bojangles.
So this is your rewrite.
I'm just saying, that's where they're going.
Oh, so that's the actual in the movie.
You wanted me to explain it to you.
Okay. To be honest, I've had Bojangles. I'd still be sticking around. Bojangles ain't worth running for.
So there's more creepy interviews that go on. They interview this guy who said he would do anything in a haunt short of killing, getting to the point where he'll test people and gang rape them.
Does he actually use that word?
I'm pretty sure.
I think he does, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of extreme.
Kind of illegal. Kind of crazy.
Isn't Bojangles a strip joint where you can't touch the people?
It's a fried chicken fast food chain down south.
Bojangles. It sounds like this place in California.
There could be.
Yeah, very well
could be.
But I could tell you, in the state of Virginia, it's a fast food chain. Hey, everyone, congratulations. It's Halloween. We've made it. They're making a breakfast. It's looking pretty good. And then they hear a bump on the door. They open the door, and they find a pumpkin that says, "Carve me."
One thing you should know about me, and if I haven't mentioned it, because I don't think I have, is I love pumpkins.
Oh, you know that.
I like the way they taste, and I like the way they look. And one day, I will get a tattoo of a pumpkin no reason.
Are you a basic pumpkin spice latte person?
I kind of am, in all honesty. I love pumpkin. But you don't get it during the fall, so...
Do you like pumpkin pie?
Love it. That's my Thanksgiving treat.
Nice. More of an apple pie guy myself, but...
That's very basic, Shane. I'm calling you out for that.
Wait, so you're saying I'm basic, Mr. Pumpkin Everything over there?
You said apple pie, and only a psychopath would have apple pie. You should be having Dutch apple pie.
I actually hate apple pie.
What about Dutch apple pie?
No, I hate baked fruit.
That's fair, I guess.
I don't think it is.
I mean, I hate avocados.
I used to be a baker.
Avocados are evil.
I used to be a baker, so I would bake at 4 a.m., so I got really, really sick of baked fruit really, really quickly.
Gotcha.
And no, avocados aren't evil. Fuck directly off.
Dude,
well, Bryan can back me up on that.
They're so pruny. I can't even,
You have to have a good avocado.
It looks like they've been basking in water for millennia.
And yet someone saw a pineapple and was just like, oh, what kind of apple is this?
Pineapples they're good.
Pineapples are good if they're diced on ice cream.
Pineapples look like they're wearing a chastity belt.
Wow, I've never thought of a pineapple that way.
It's if you open me, it'll be great and delicious, but you're not going to be able to tell what I am. I'm an apple.
So, make sure to catch our potty on food, because we've all become culinary experts.
Yes.
So you're going to want to get our expertise.
See us featured on Food Theorist in the future.
So they do bring in the pumpkin and carve it.
Yeah.
And inside of the pumpkin is an envelope, which is an invitation to Bourbon Street at 10 p.m. They're like, yeah, we're not doing this. And I think it's Zach who's like, dude, we got an invitation and a pumpkin. We have to.
This is what we came for. Because Mikey's pissed. He's like, why are we not, like, leaving? Did you see what happened last night? Like,
not only that, they, like, opened the curtains to the RV. Like, I don't think they've even, like, woken up properly. And there's, like, 5 masks just sitting.
It's like on the windshield.
Yes.
Yeah, on the windshield.
Specifically, they are blue skull masks. And I'm assuming this is how they want to be identified on Bourbon Street, because obviously Bourbon Street is going to be packed. So they'll look for the people wearing blue skull masks.
Yeah. You only think there's, like, over thousands of people.
I've never been to New Orleans, so I don't know how packed it gets, but it does.
I think that they go there, and I'm going to say that because they go there. They put on their blue skull masks, and they start walking around. They're looking for the blue skull guys, and they walk up to some guy in a white skull mask. Obviously, that's not who they're looking for.
No.
They're just asking anyone with a skull mask on, basically. Like, they have no idea who they're looking for. Like, they could be wearing the same mask. They could be dressed up completely different. They have no idea.
Yeah, then they walk up to a guy in a red skull mask, and he offers them the soul stone. Sorry, that's the plot to Avengers.
Oh, I forgot about that. That took me a minute.
Oh, I should have made a Skeletor joke in here, but I'm not going to.
Moving on.
I think they do see a guy in the blue skull mask on a balcony.
They do.
So that's what they're going for.
And then he disappears, though. And then somehow they get split up. Jeff sees someone he thinks is Bobby, calls out Bobby, follows Bobby into an alleyway, and clearly this is not Bobby at this point, but continues to go through the alley.
The moment he went to an alley by himself, I would have just been like, all right, not my friend, bye.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not.
Go follow him.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Porcelain face doll girl, string hair was there.
He's like, you want to come out and play?
And Bunny was there too. They corner him.
Yes, so now you're learning they're all been working together. The bunny from the pea scene, the porcelain girl, all the clowns. Is the guy from the camp ever seen again? The one that sits with them at the fire?
I don't think so.
So he was just a random guy who lived in the forest.
He might have like a mask on or something, but like I almost thought he was the guy in the bunny suit.
Could be.
It's very possible. So at this point, Jeff gets abducted.
And I have a theory here, because I think what they do is they kill Jeff, right? They kill people, they isolate them, kill them, and then through their death, they become one of them, and they work in the haunted house.
Isn't that the movie Haunt?
I've never seen it.
I think that's the plot to the movie Haunt.
Well, I really didn't see that.
We'll have to watch it.
So they kill you and they induct you into the haunted house?
I think what it is they bring people into the haunted house and kill them, but they do have certain people work there to eventually become one of the people that does this with them. It's a very interesting movie.
I checked that. I think it's on Shudder, right?
Yes, it is.
Am I mistaken, or do we not see Jeff for the rest of the movie after this?
I think he dies. I really do.
Yeah, we actually don't see him. They call Jeff's cell phone. And, like, Jeff's voicemail is literally saying, meet me at an intersection at midnight, which is actually really cool.
Does it actually?
It does.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Quick thinking.
Yeah, you were right. We never see Jeff again. Like, he's out of the movie.
Considering
Not that he was ever really in it.
Considering I don't really know most of the characters, I really couldn't tell. My friend Miranda was just telling me every time. She was like, Jen, this is Jeff, this is Bobby. And I was like, they're all the same.
It's one person.
Everyone except Brandy and Mike are one person.
But as they're going to this intersection at midnight, the RV is silent because I think everybody's basically like, why are we still doing this? And Zach's like, we need to do this.
Yeah.
We've gone this far. But then as they stop, because they're like literal dirt road here, they see a van start approaching them.
Bus.
It's a bus?
Yeah, it's definitely a bus.
Okay. It's a bus. Guy in a skeleton mask gets out. He's dressed in all black, appears outside the van. I'm assuming this is Jeff because of my theory I just mentioned about killing Jeff and that Jeff reincarnates into one of them.
And they're blocking the way. Like, I think they were heading that way because they think that that's the way to the Blue Skull. And they're trying to find Jeff and that Jeff is somehow with them. And then the bus drives up and it literally blocks the way. Like, they can't go anywhere.
And then Zach gets a text. And the text says, get out of the van in 60 seconds or I'm killing Jeff. So I guess my theory goes out the window at this point, unless
Jeff could be dead. It could be just to get them out.
It's 100% to get them out. My theory is still intact.
Exactly. Then they don't. It says 45 seconds or the same thing. And then Mikey says something. I forgot exactly what he says. But then the next text, it says what Mikey said, 30 seconds remaining.
He says, this isn't real. I'm not scared. I'm going outside.
Okay, you're right. And it says, you will be scared 30 seconds. Which leads to what we had said earlier, that they have been being filmed in their own RV this whole time.
Yep. I think Zach gets out of the RV. He heads over to them, just like goes.
Yeah.
I think what sends Mikey and Brandy crashing down the floor is the glass in the RV shatters.
Yeah, so out of nowhere, glass shatters, fucking Stone Cold comes out, And he just takes them.
Hey, he comes from like the back of the RV, like from the bedroom.
He's been hiding under the bed the whole time. There's like a bunk in the thing, so maybe he's hiding under the bunk, I don't know.
They probably just never checked the top bunk.
They're brought outside, they're basically tied and bagged over their head, and they're going into the bus. This is interesting because now they're doing some of the filming in the bus.
Now the rest of the movie, they're filming them on the bus here, and they're the ones who are going to be supplying them with cameras to film.
I think they take them all out. They're bringing them out into like this house, right? And they leave Brandy alone in the bus for like a minute because there's a man that puts a knife up to her and he's like, listen, count to 30, then take off your hood. Pick up the camera next to you, record everything you see. So she's getting threatened to do this, and I'm guessing this is that extra footage that they're talking about.
Exactly.
They make them get off in separate locations, too. Like, I'm assuming it's not very far, because, like, we can see, like, where the bus stops. But they pretty much make them all... From what I'm assuming, is they're driving around the same house.
And putting them in different entrance points. Yeah.
Yeah.
From how it looked like Mikey got off first, then they took off Bobby and Zach at the same time, and then Brandy last.
Yeah.
So, Brandy follows the guy's instructions to a T. She counts to 30. She picks up the camera. She heads into the house. It's a haunted house. It's a creepy, haunted house.
It's dark. You know, Mikey's looking for the rest of the group. He enters like this rustic portion of the house. Jazz music starts to play. And then you're seeing like different actors kind of like go through their various positions or wherever they are in these haunts. Brandy walks in. She sees mannequins. I think they're watching like white noise television. Mm-hmm. Like you said, there's a haunted house. They're setting this creepy atmosphere.
Doesn't Brandy think the mannequin is Zach at first?
Yeah, she does. But speaking of Zach's about to get chainsawed.
Yeah.
Because it's just revving up. He's like, I'm done. Let me out. Like, it took at this point for this guy to finally say, fuck you, Jeff. I'm out of here.
And literally, like, I think Zach has a glow stick with him. And
I
was confused as to why, like, you couldn't see his face, but then I remembered the camera was probably facing outward. It's not facing him.
Yeah.
Whereas usually in these movies, the camera's facing, like, your face to get, like, your reaction. So we're really just seeing it from their point of view. Mm-hmm. He makes it sound like the room he's in is so tiny. It makes him sound like he's in a box. And, like, eventually, like, he'll be like, oh, where's the light switch? Very conveniently, and he turns the fucking light switch on.
Yeah.
Then it shows, like, he's in kind of, like, a bigger room, and I'm like, were you just, like, tripping over yourself the whole time? Like, turning in circles, and you're like, oh my god, a wall! And then you turn in circles again and realize you're facing the same wall, and you're like, oh my god, a wall! And I'm like, well, okay, I guess he's in a shoebox, like...
Yeah, like a very... Made you think it was confined.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was stupid.
I think Mikey, in his area, he sees, like, a creepy girl in the doorway, just standing there, terrifying as he's trying to get out. Brandy's getting chased by a guy in a skeleton mask still.
Zach is still being scared by that chainsaw, man.
Yeah, he's freaking out. He's yelling at the top of his lungs.
And then you start to see Bobby move through the house. Is Bobby the one where, like, someone starts breaking through the door to try to get to him? Or something like that?
I thought that was Zach.
That was Zach.
That is Zach? Oh, that's Zach with the chainsaw again.
Bobby sees Mike.
That's right.
Through the window, but Mikey can't see back at him. He's just yelling out for him, and then, like, room goes black. So, like, he doesn't know what happens to Mikey. And then, like you mentioned, Zach's getting the shininged.
Yeah. With a chainsaw instead of the axe.
Yeah.
Sounds like Mikey's supposed to be getting tasered or something's happening to him. Honestly, like, he did a really crap job at letting us know that he was getting hurt. You're staring at something and something going, was that good enough?
He sounds like he was being mildly inconvenienced.
Yeah.
Not attacked with a taser.
I can't say here's Zach. Here's Zach is corny. But what I will say is that shining scene is that he's chopping it down and the chainsaw guy's just like, I'm gonna fuck your world! I'm like, whoa!
But it cut it off, so it just ended up sounding like word or something.
I'm gonna fuck your word! Love it. So then it kind of cuts, and Brandy's unconscious body is just dumped in the back of a trunk.
So we are now at the beginning of the movie. This is how the movie started, with the girl in the trunk. So we are now at Brandy in the trunk. And Brandy gets thrown into... I want to say a blood coffin, because it looks like she's laying on, like, entrails or something.
Yeah, she's laying on, like, carcasses. And can I just say that, like, right before, like, all this, when they're on, like, the bus, I, like, paused the movie, because we knew how long the movie was gonna be, like, when we started watching it. And I paused right on the bus scene. Feels like this has been going on a really long time, like, a really long lead up. And this is the it part of the movie. How long do I still have of this? And it said 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, fuck this.
I mean... Me personally, I thought it built up very well to the ending, and I actually like the ending of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'll explain it later. I do like the fact that they're kind of getting, while they were like out seeking the extreme haunted houses, they were following them.
Yeah, so let's finish the movie and then we could talk about that. So Brandy is in her coffin, her blood coffin, that is just a cardboard box. Everyone else, We don't see Jeff, but we see Bobby, Mikey, and Zach, and they're in these, like, super nice, comfortable-looking coffins.
Luxurious coffins? You said cardboard box. I mean, it was wood, but...
You know what I mean, though.
Like, they were like, oh, we spent all our money on these, like, 3 other coffins. What are we gonna do for us? I mean, I guess we could go get the wood in the back.
Can't find the 5th luxurious coffin in the budget, Brandy, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, you're getting the blood wood coffin.
We'll put some entrails down there. It'll be a little more comfortable for your fall. Maybe use that as
It'll be a little squishy, but you'll be alright. And we see the Blue Skull crew burying them alive.
They're just throwing dirt on their coffins.
Yeah, and they're screaming. They're asking to get out.
Is it just me, or do they only show them, like, actually putting dirt on Brandy's coffin?
This is correct.
They don't really show them putting dirt on anyone else's coffin,
and
it's only assumed that what's happening to Brandy is happening to everyone else, because we're not really focusing on... I mean, we see from everyone else's point of view, because they all have cameras on them, but we don't really see what's happening outside their coffins compared to what's happening outside Brandy's.
And it's funny you mention that, because that'll lead into the sequel of this movie.
Oh yeah, it ends there. This is why I hate this movie.
We're only talking about this one. So, they're burying her, and then it kind of cuts to just an interview, right? And the movie ends with an interview.
And this is the scariest person in the entire film.
Yes. So, why don't you tell us what he says?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's terrifying, but they're asking him some questions. It's a guy, and he's like, being an actor, for like 5 days of the week, being somebody else. He's like, it's exhilarating to be mean, to do these things, to jump out, have that different persona. You can be somebody who you may be, suppressing, to come out and like do some things in these houses. And he's like, he loves it best when he can do his work and where people have to struggle to escape him. It's just really creepy.
And that's the end of the movie.
I hate this ending so much. It gives you no information. From what I hear, because I haven't seen it, I know you've seen it, Shane. Me and Bryan haven't. That the second movie literally starts where this ends.
Pretty much.
And this pisses me off to no avail.
Okay, so since I've seen the second movie, without saying anything, so I won't spoil the second one, it didn't need to exist.
Oh, that's disappointing.
They take it in a certain way. It's like, okay, that's how you continue the story. I wish it didn't happen. I actually like this ending. I like the ambiguous, they're essentially buried alive and you don't know what happens. I like endings like that to begin with. And I felt like you're going to say the same thing. I like that they were filming all these things, trying to get extreme. And then at the end, it was them filming them from afar and getting them in the end.
Yeah, I like movies like that, in a way.
I hate that I don't know anything. It makes me so mad.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed.
So this is the first found footage movie that we've done. Found footage is still one of my favorite genres. I think I mentioned it, and I know Shane loves them. Not the biggest fan of slashers. I can watch them, I can tolerate them, some are good. But found footage is a genre for me that, I love. It's a subgenre I eat up. So I am a sucker for it, which is why I did like this movie. I get, all the points you make, Jen. I think some of the things were, just didn't make sense.
Oh, no, there are flaws.
The interviews are kind of strung together. There's no, flow.
Yeah, they definitely could have used them as foreshadows. They definitely could have catered the questions a little better to lead into certain scenes that they were trying to put them in. And I think that would have been done really well. But I feel like they weren't even thinking of that. They just went and were trying to interview people.
100%.
Yeah, they weren't even trying to map it out like that, which is just, such a missed opportunity for this movie.
They were getting interviews that they're mashing up throughout the movie. I do like the authenticity of the interviews because they're raw, which is where you're looking for.
But if you ask the right questions, you can, of course, use certain parts of each question and each answer to kind of lead into what you want.
No, yeah. My biggest thing for this movie is I like found footage. I thought it was entertaining. I mean, some things just didn't make sense. I agree. I thought it was creepy. I don't know, just me. I thought it was creepy. I like the theme of haunted houses, but particularly because I feel like there's so many haunted house movies and they all kind of suck. Funhouse Massacre. There's so many bad ones,
I like Funhouse Massacre.
So, I like this movie. What's my rating? What's the scale we're doing here?
Let's stay in the Halloween theme. Let's do, Spooky Robert Englund's.
Spooky Robert Englund's, okay.
I thought you were going to say pumpkins.
No. Well, no, he's, Freddy.
Yeah,
True.
Okay.
So?
I'm going to give this movie 7 out of 10 Spooky Robert Englund's.
I wanted to do a horror actor, okay? We do actors.
That's fair. I think everybody does a decent job. I like their dialogue in the RV. I like how sometimes it was kind of pointless because on a road trip, you would be having pointless conversations. So, felt kind of raw. I liked it. More entertainment value than anything else. 7 Spooky Robert Englund's for this one.
I am also giving it 7. 7 out of 10. I like the movie. I thought it was creepy. I like the idea of it being found footage like you, where they're being filmed. I like the ending. I like ambiguous endings where it's like, are they all buried alive? Is this just how extreme the haunt got, where they're gonna let him out after scaring the shit out of him like this? I like that kind of ending. I also agree where the dialogue's not great at times, but it's not supposed to be great. It's supposed to just be people bullshitting while going on this trip. They're just supposed to be friends talking, shooting the shit. The costumes are good, but there are a lot of problems, like, how is this filmed this way? Like you said at the beginning, like, the camera, they should be seeing two cameras where it's like, it's clearly like a production camera filming them, or like when that group of 50 just disappears and stuff like that. Besides that, I really enjoyed it, so I think it's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I like the idea also, Shane. There's the haunts that they go to, but then there's the prevailing haunt on them.
Exactly.
That's occurring outside the houses. Pretty cool.
I'm going to give it a 5. It was okay. Obviously, like, I think there are a lot of missed opportunities. I think the idea of the movie is phenomenal. And if, like, those missed opportunities weren't, like, such heavy hitters for me personally, I probably would rate it a little higher. I also kind of hate the fact that, like, you have to essentially watch the second movie to get the information about why this is all happening. Like, if they just ended it with, like, the haunt people just saying something or doing something, maybe I would have liked it more, because I hate, like, not knowing anything, because it's not really clear why we don't know anything. Yeah, I just hate that emptiness that, like, there's just so much we don't know, and you're kind of forced to watch the second movie if you actually want to know anything. I find it irritating, so I'm only gonna give it 5 Roberts.
Robbie!
Hey,
Robbie!
it's still a respectable rating, 5 out of 10, considering we're coming off our Stay Alive review, where I gave it a 2.
I hate that.
And so
much. Didn't age well, like, at all.
No, it was so bad.
They usually don't.
This is the first movie of our Halloween-themed month. I'm very excited. We're actually doing themes throughout the entire rest of the year, but we're talking Halloween movies here, and I'm super excited for our next week's film as well. I really wish Shane would second guess himself on the version he wants to review, but he's kind of not budging.
Alright, so hear me out. I'm not budging because we have 4 movies planned for Halloween, and 3 of them are good movies. The 4th one, we could have did the good version, but I'm like, let's have a little fun. Let's do the shitty remake of Night of the Demons.
Alright, I mean, unless I can convince you to watch the second one of this movie, because it pisses me off to no avail, but we'll go with that for now.
Yep, so that's what we're watching. The shitty remake.
It's got Edward Furlong, it's got Shannon Elizabeth, it's got other hot girls that I can't remember who they are right now.
The movie is smoking hot. I mean, this is what it is.
Not enough to remember their names, though.
No.
I mean,
I was looking elsewhere.
Jesus.
Not paying attention whatsoever.
There are scenes in the remake
Oh my
I
God.
just can't wait to talk about.
We've talked about lipstick demons. Now we're going to be talking about where we insert lipstick in general.
It is going to be wild. Yeah, oh yeah, you're in for a treat
I can't
when
even
you see this one.
describe to you where this lipstick is going to go. Because it's not where you think it's going to go.
actually not where you think the lipstick's going. That's the best part.
I hope you all know that they're looking directly at me.
Before we go, I just want to say, if you haven't already, please follow us on Facebook at 2 Guys 1 Necronomicon. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 2 Guys 1 Necro. If you haven't, please give us a rating on Apple Podcasts.
Please do, because if you don't, I'm going to eat a lot of food and become morbidly obese.
He'll do it too.
It definitely really, really helps us. It helps Apple just recommend us to other people and really gets, like, our name out there. So if you enjoy it, please, please, please consider giving us a rating, and please, please, please consider making them funny so I can read them on air.
Love it.
I'm all about that.
And I really don't want to gain weight, so...
He'll eat a lot of ice cream. Maybe we'll live stream you just eating ice cream if we don't get reviews.
Yeah, when we do the Ice Cream Man.
Ice Cream Man.
We'll review the Ice Cream Man,
Oh, I
live
can't
stream
wait.
it.
Oh,
While I eat a carton of ice cream.
that
Book
is
it.
a great idea. So, with all that said, thank you, Jen, for being on again.
It was fun. I'm really excited to be on for more episodes.
I'm gonna be sick.
Yeah, we will definitely have you on. We have a lot planned for the future, so
Such good things.
Yeah.
Such good things for everybody.
Christmas is going to be a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
I hate you.
Shane loves to ruin my favorite holiday.
I do. I really do. So, with all that said, we are 2 Guys 1 Necronomicon signing off, and we will see you next week at the Halloween party. And if you haven't already, please follow us on Facebook at 2 Guys 1 Necronomicon. Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 2 Guys 1 Necro. Also, if you can, and if you listen to it on Apple Podcasts, please throw us a rating on there. 1 star, 5 star, whatever it is, just let us know your feedback. Thank you very much.